Hello, YouTubers. How you doing? Your favorite folk artist, Dennis Ramsay, with ya. Please share and subscribe tonight to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Thank you. It's true. Dennis Ramsay's a famous Kempful folk artist. I also do fine art and abstract art paintings. Please request yours. Give me a jingle. 902-365-5044, Kempful, Canada. I'll do your paintings at 300 grand a piece, up to $1,000,000 each, and all different prices. 400 grand each, 500 grand, 600 grand, 700 grand, 800 grand, 900 grand, and $1,000,000 each. Anyhows, I became an orphan at a very early age in life, and I spent several years in institutions. Some were good, some were bad. One of the worst institutions I was in was a Shelburne Reform School. It was a very bad place. The first time I was there was for about a year. I seen people raped in the shower room. I seen people almost beat to death. It was a dangerous spot. The number one rule when you go to jail or prison or reform school is never snitch on nobody. Never tell on nobody. That's number one rule. I seen what happened to the snitches in there. They got stitches. Now, we lived in dorms. There'd be about 12 of us in each dorm. And if anybody snitched on anybody, what we'd all do is late at night, about 1 or 2, we'd throw a blanket over them and put about 5 or 6 cans of soda pop in socks and beat the snitch. And everybody had to pound the snitch. It was part of the program. Anyhow, the Shelburne Reform School was known for abuse. A lot of the boys were beat with table tennis, ping pong rackets. I took my share of beatings by the staff. We were also beat with mop brooms and the sticks of the brooms. Anyhow, the Shelburne Reform School was a very bad spot. The first term I did in there was 1 year, and the second term was 6 months. And people I've seen in there were almost beat to death. I've seen people raped regularly, and it was a very dangerous spot. See, the problem with reform school, they had a shower room, and there'd be 10 showers in a great big room, and you'd see people rape one another in there. It was a very bad spot. And I'm telling this story because it's the truth, and I did get compensation for it back in the 90s, for all the abuse I suffered. The reason I'm telling you this story is so you don't end up in reform school, because it's a very dangerous place. There's people get beat, cut, and raped. Anyhow, please subscribe to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. I'll be telling you the institutions I was in and the abuse I suffered. I was severely beaten with broomsticks and mop sticks and ping pong rackets, and misused, hit with stapler guns, and so on and so forth. Anyhow, Reform School was a bad institution. It was the Shelburne Reform School of Nova Scotia. There was people in one time or another were killed in there. It's like anything. People get killed in prison, jails, and reform school. Please share and subscribe tonight to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Thank you. I spent several years in institutions, and I'm going to talk about it and get it off my chest and mind. I'm tormented by many of the things I've seen over the years. I call them mental scars. Is a person ever the same? The answer is no, you're never the same. But anyhow, the food was good in the institutions. They did feed good, far as that part goes. The company at times was very bad. I lived with murderers, killers, rapists, people that committed armed robbery and committed very bad crimes, child molestation, people that raped one another and stuff like that, bad criminals. Please share and subscribe tonight to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. I promised a nurse I would talk about the institutional abuse that goes on these places, what happens. There was a young fella that was raped so bad he was almost bled to death. They gang raped him, and he almost bled to death before he got to the hospital. And I want you young folks to realize being in reform school or jail or prison's a dangerous place. And if you're bad, you'll end up there. So beware. Anyhows, it's raining tonight in Kempful, Canada. Please share and subscribe to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Thank you. I do folk art, fine art, and abstract art paintings, 300 grand a piece, up to $1 million each. Give me a jingle. 902-365-5044, New Jive. I remember one day I was beat so bad with a broomstick I couldn't walk for a week. I was crippled up for a whole week, and I was lame and stiff. Please share and enjoy the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Thank you. Growing up as an orphan, I learned how to fend for myself early. I fought my own battles, and I'd win some, lose some. So, institutional life is very rough. It's very ruthless. It's very dangerous, and you don't want to be there. Anyhows, the key how I survived institutional abuse and survived the institutions, I was able to get along with people. And most of the inmates and fellow patients like me. That's why I was never murdered. Plain and simple. I had to fight my own battles. I got beat up, knocked up a few times and hurt. And I suffered some injuries, no doubt about that. One time I was in a bad fight. I got ruptured and I was bleeding. And I bled there for about 5 or 6 hours, and I got all stitched up. And I come close to dying, almost bled to death. And I want you kids to realize you don't want to be in reform school or go to jails or prisons. It's a dangerous place. Anyhow, so I hope you enjoy these true stories, and I'll talk more about it in the future. But to make a long story short, I got compensation from the Shelburne Reform School abuse I suffered back in the 90s. Wasn't a lot of money, but it was some. And at least they apologized to me and acknowledged that I suffered an injustice in the Shelburne Reform School. I had to prove my own case. They didn't give people compensation or free money. You had to prove your case. What sealed the deal for Dennis Ramsay, I had witnesses that seen me beat with stapler guns and ping pong rackets and broomsticks, and physically abused with fists and being kicked. So stay out of reform school, kids, and beware, it's a dangerous spot. And there's a lot of perverts and pedophiles in these institutions. Beware of that also. There's people that will be predators and will try to rape you. They'll try to beat you to death. They'll try to misuse you in every way, steal your canteen and your money. So beware. Hope you like this true story. You all take care. We'll call this one the Shelburne Reform School Abuse. Take care and bye for now. Have a nice evening. Ciao.